Hello everyone, welcome to Civil Prep. I am Krishna Gupta, and this is a lecture 2 of Geography Optional Foundation, okay, where we'll be looking at the core perspective in human geography. So basically in the previous lecture we have seen that how there was development of geography, what were the contributions of the ancient geographers, then medieval geographers, that is the Arab geographers, and how that was called as the Dark Ages. Then there was the Renaissance period, and then the things came to the classical geography. So classical period, we will see that there was a development a lot of things, like there was a development of scientific temper. The thoughts were being used to get accumulated by the theorists or the geographers, and they were passed from one generation to another generation. So here we saw that there was a starting of a development of a discipline started, that was the geography. Now this thing is important because how this human geography came into existence, or how this geography came into existence, and it altered the thought process of the people who were living in those era, and not only that era but in the contemporary time also. So this we can understand by the previous lecture. Now in the today's lecture we need to understand certain perspective which were developed in those time period, and we have to see that how they can be interlinked in the today's contemporary aspect here. Now the first thing is the determinism. Now looking at the determinism, if we look at it, is a concept, it is a thought, it is a perception. Now what is determinism? This is a question. What used to happen since ancient up to the modern ages? Okay, what used to happen till in this contemporary time? We see that the people used to understand that how their environment is, that is how their nature is, and they used to make their lifestyle, their behavior, their beliefs in the way the environment or nature was determining the human beings. For example, if certain people around 2000 years ago were living in the forest areas, so under the forest areas, if they are present in the tropical region, so there is a daily rainfall. Okay, we will see that the temperature here, it is almost, it is more than 10 degrees Celsius throughout the year. Okay, humidity is quite very high. So according to these conditions, the human had certain adaptations, or certain laws were determined by the environment for the human beings, so that they will be able to live in those set of conditions. Now this thing where the determination of the actions, behavior, and beliefs, that is being dictated by the environment, this is called as the determinism, which in one part is also called as the environmental determinism. So environmental determinism, its short form, it comes here to be determinism. So determinism is philosophical approach assuming that situations are predetermined by logically and chronological prior causes, emphasizing the absence of free will. So here we can say that there is an absence of free will of the human beings. For example, 2000 years ago, if there was a rainfall, so it is very difficult for the people to stay dry. So how they can be staying dry? They can use certain leaves or bushes, and they can form a hut. So here they could use the environmental conditions for their living only. But in the contemporary time, what we see that we have raincoats, we have umbrella, we have certain rooftops which are waterproof. So though we have currently the free will here. So in geography, this means external realities, that is environmental and economic laws, rather than the internal human will determine the human activities. So here the external realities, okay, that is the environmental aspect, they will determine that what human actions will be or what human activities will be, and not the humans will decide from their own that how they will be using their activities. For example, if there is rainfall, the people will come inside the shade. If there is very high sun, okay, temperature is very high, they will be living in the shades. Okay, but they won't be able to go against the environmental aspect. So this is the basic determinism concept. So the concept has deep theological roots, but becomes integral to scientific inquiry, manifesting in two distinct forms within the geography. Now, when we understand or when we want to understand the determinism concept, we have two concepts here with respect to the geography, that is of determinism. One is the environmental determinism, which is an old concept. Old concept means it started its roots in the development since the ancient period. And second is the scientific determinism. So scientific determinism started when there was a scientific inquiry about everything. For example, there is an environmental laws only. For example, there is temperature, there is humidity, there is precipitation conditions, there is snowfall, there is rainfall, there is land, type of soil, the kind of crops, what will be coming out. Everything here we see that they are governed by certain kind of laws. Now, these laws, when they are inquired scientifically, logically, we were able to find the roots that how these soils are formed, how these trees are present here, like ecological successions or pioneer, or we can say that the climax species are found here. So in this way, we see that we were able to determine that how the nature is able to dictate the conditions and the development of conditions which are followed by the human beings. So these conditions and the human activities, when they were understood in a scientific manner, this is also called as logical positivism. You need to understand this part. This is a part of a logical positivism. So this logical positivism concept, this was able to come out from the scientific determinism. Let's understand this. Here, first we'll be looking at the environmental determinism. This approach treats geography as natural science, where the physical environment, climates, landforms, rivers, forests, directly influences, controls, and determines human life, from agricultural practices to the religious beliefs. For example, if we go to the tribal culture, so here we will see that the tribal people used to believe have a very high belief on the gods. Now these gods, we will see that they were based on the sun, the moon, the stars. Okay, so astrology was very highly influencing the belief system of the tribal people, because they were intercepting the changes in the environment with respect to the changes in the position of sun, moon, and the stars. So these belief systems, how they form, they were interlinked with the position of sun, moon, and stars with the changes in their environment, like changes in seasons, changes in the cycles of various activities. So these things were found there. So this is environmental determinism. Next is scientific determinism. Here, geographers reconstructed the geography on natural sciences lines using positivist philosophy. Okay, we are also saying here the logical positivism. So here we have the positivist philosophy. See, positivism, what it is, uh, when the development of geography came from a particular aspect from the theological approach, that is theology. Theology is what God has made everything. God has made this universe, God has made this earth, God has made us, and God is defining the rules and conditions for the actions of the human beings. So when God is there and God is determining everything, that is the theological approach, which is one of the part of the environmental determinism. But this became an Ethiopian part. Okay, this we can say that the theological approach, it became utopia during the dark ages. Okay, so it came out from the dark ages, and from the theology it became more scientific. The scientific temper was used for the study of the geography as a subject here. So when the scientific temper was seen, it was seen that yes, there is a certain relation of certain laws We can say that the governing principles, which is linked to the scientific part, and yes, it is not determined by the God. For example, the heliocentric model, the earth centric model, and we can see that uh, the Catholic centric model, like it was seen that Rome is the center of universe, but it is not true right now. We see that the center of universe we do not know, but sun is the center of the solar system. So this is the heliocentric model. So these were certain things which people used to find, and their belief system started to change. See, one thing you remember, the belief system is something which is very difficult for humans to change. What we believe, it is enrooted in our conscious and subconscious mind, which determines our behavior, which determines our belief systems. So this was very difficult for the people to change from the theological perspective to the scientific perspective or the positivist perspective. Now, uh, coming back here, natural science lines using positivist philosophy to develop universal laws and theories explaining human activities in space. Now, second thing, it is talking about the universal laws and theories. Now, if we look at certain laws like gravity, gravity is a universal law that there is a for the earth we have a gravitational force which is 9.8 meter per second. Okay, we have certain forces like nuclear forces, we have weak nuclear forces, we have like we can say uh, we have forces of attraction between the molecules. So there are certain laws and theories which are universal in nature. So same laws can be developed in geography also, which can have its universal application. Like currently we are seeing the agricultural location, the industrial location, the laws of we can say the settlement, the laws of we can say uh, the conurbation, okay, the laws of migration. So there are certain laws which are being defined by the theorists, and these laws they have been tried to make universal. And how they have been made? By the using of the positivism, that is laws of the we can say the general science here. So these forms dominated during the quantitative revolution, when geography shifted from the descriptive to the lawmaking. Now, we will be understanding this complete paradigm shift after we complete this today's lecture. Okay, in today's lecture, we'll be understanding that what are determinism, what are possibilism, how this developed. And when we understand this part, we will be understanding how the paradigm shift occurred and what were the different paradigms different during the different periods. Okay, moving forward, the key theorists and their contribution for the determinism. Number one is Frederick Retzel. Okay, Retzel we have seen yesterday also. Retzel was very highly influenced by the Darwinian philosophy, that is the survival of the fittest. Okay, and at the same time we see that there was also development of the Newtonian laws, that is one of the gravitational laws here. So developed scientific determinism under the Darwin and the Newtonian influences here. Then viewed the state as an organism needing Lebensraum, that is living space. Now this is very important part. What Darwin said that when people, sorry, when any animal or any plant, they live in a certain region, they need a particular living space. Why they need that? Because they need to thrive. They need to survive. And how an organism can survive? When an organism is getting all the resources to its optimum level. Okay, optimum level is one of the condition where the food, sunlight, temperature, the kind of soil, everything is optimum so that the species can thrive there. So this was the space which we also call it as a niche or a habitat of a particular organism. So this is also specified as a Lebensraum. This is a German word. Okay, so Ratzel was belonging to the German school. Now, territorial extension becomes necessary for survival when local resources exhaust. And at the same point of time, if we see that if that particular species is living in that region, if temperature changes, either it increases or decreases, either the water availability increases or decreases, either the food availability increases or decreases. So this will result in the change of the environment of that particular species, which will result into the declining of that species. Okay, the number of the species will start to decline. So this is the thing we see, that the Labancerism is very important, which is also applicable to the human beings, not only the human beings, but this is also applicable to the political states. This will be understanding in detail when we'll be understanding uh, the political geography, the political aspects. This will come again, where we will be linking this Lebanserism to the colonialism, that is the expansion of the states. Okay, for example, the European countries, like we have Great Britain, then Germany, then Portugal, then Spain, okay, Dutch, Netherlands. So how these colonial states, they expanded from one region to another region, so that they want to survive, they want to become the survival of the fittest. Okay, they want to follow this survival of the fittest law. So this theorist, they provided the state that this is the one thing that on the basis of which we can be surviving. We need resources which are never inexhaustible. So everyone was acquiring resources in distinct lands. Therefore, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Australia, all these regions, they were made a colonial countries. Okay, they were imperialized. Okay, so this is one of the thought which is taken for the colonial legacy. Then, argued natural spaces creates settings for migratory and cultural movements, leading to specially determined differentiated human activity patterns. Okay, just give me 1 second. Uh, those aspirants who are watching this lecture online, okay, they can say hi here. Okay, if they're having any issues, if they are having any doubts, they can ask here. I will be reading the questions and I can answer them. Okay, now moving forward. His two volume, that is Anthropogeography Late Foundations for Volume 1 emphasized environmental control, and Volume 2 inspired the Vidal's possibilism. We have discussed in the previous class only that how there was Anthropogeography in one, that was the systematic geography, and that was more from the deterministic perspective, that was a physical geography. And the Volume 2, that was more of a regional geography. And here we see that it was the human geography which was better studied here. Okay, so this is red cell. Next is Alan Churchill sample. Churchill sample, we will see that this is one of the disciple of red cell who extremified the environmental determinism. Now let's get a story here. Now what happened? Red cell was of the view that there is certain laws and conditions which are determined by the environment. Okay, now here this was one of the part of the Darwinian principle. Now sample what they studied here, that she saw that there are a lot of things which are actually determined by the environment, and they are applied over the human beings. For example, they saw that the climatic conditions, like the equatorial conditions, the tropical conditions, the polar conditions, and the temperate conditions. So the temperate conditions, people were having better strength of the body, better they have stature, better conditions of living, okay, better food for their living. So all these things were seen here. Now, the same thing goes opposite for the people living in the tropical countries. So, under tropical countries, there is lack of food, there is very high temperature, humidity is very high. So, the conditions were quite unfavorable for the living of people. So, therefore, the activities were also determined. The people were labeled as lazy. Okay, while the people living in temperate region, they were labeled as very much productive. So, these were certain things. To an extent, it became more absurd. Okay, this became more absurd, but yes, we can see here there are a lot of things. If you will go to the work of the Ellen Churchill sample, there you will find that there are a lot of things which were defined by her, but it is not applicable in the contemporary time. But yes, certain things of the Ellen Churchill sample are actually applied here to a certain extent. This will be discussing here. So in the influences of geographical environment, this is the work which was of sample. She argued environmental impacts human life through number one, physical factors, climate, altitude, directly influencing the stature and the skin color. For example, The people living in the tropical region, they are having darker skin. The people living in the we can say the temperate region, they have a white skin tone. Okay, then the people living in African region who are more to the pressure, okay, the atmospheric pressure, they have high stature. The people who are living in the altitude like the mountainous regions, they have a lower stature comparatively. Then physiological effects on culture, religion, and literature. The psychological effects on culture, religion, and literature. For example, I have talked about here the people living in the temperate region, they are more productive. The people living in tropical region are less productive. Then environmental influence on economic, social development levels also. Environment as root, rivers, and barriers, mountains for the human development. She has given one part here that environment, in the environment, wherever there is a river, so this river, it will act as a root. Okay. For example, if we look at these conditions from the European perspective, that is the river Rhine, river Rhone, Vosges. Okay. So these are certain rivers. They were providing routes for the people so that they can move from one region to another region, obviously over the boat here. Now, in the second thing, we see that there is presence of mountains. So in this region of mountain, the people were not very much apt to move from one mountainous regions to another mountainous region here. So this actually acted as a barrier. So we can also apply this to certain extent, like over the Alps. Over the Alps, the people living at the one side of the Alps, they were not highly interacting with the people who are living in the other side of Alps. For example, in the Himalayan region, in the India only, in Asia only, the Indians, they have a different racial pattern, different culture, the belief system, and the people living in the China, Afghanistan, or Central Asia region, they have a different belief system, different culture, different physiological adaptations also. So this actually went through for the sample, or that is uh, for the geographical aspect here. Okay, guys, those who are watching the lecture, you can say hi. Okay, we can connect over here. Then the famous quote that is made by the sample here: man is a product of Earth's surface. Earth has mothered him, fed him, set him tasks, directed his thoughts, entered into his bones and tissues. So this is one of the part here which was taken up by the sample here. You need to mug up this. You have to mug up this quote here, because this will be applied in anywhere when we are talking about either the determinism or environmental determinism, or the development of the cultural determinism in the futuristic part here. Okay, let's move further. Now, next geographer is William Morris Davis. Okay, I think a lot of you uh, might have read the Savinder Singh. So this W.M. Davis is one of the star geographer. He is belonging to the American school. He is also a geomorphologist who developed the ontography. Okay, that is the study of relations where inorganic shapes the organic part here. So this is a very important part which we see that which helped in the development of the environmental determinism perspective. Now, W.M. Davis was of the view that Basically, while the development of geography, when we'll be understanding the geomorphology, we will say that he was the one who has changed the thought process from the catastrophic school to the non-catastrophic school. So this was one of the changes brought by him. He also gave the importance of the structure, process, and time. That is also called as the triad of Davis. Then he was also of the belief that there is a grade system. Basically, graded system was developed by Gilbert, but it was brought into the geographical study by W.M. Davis. So he has also seen that how there is changes in the landscape, how there is evolution of the landscape, and he has given that how the inorganic means the land, river, climate, air, glaciers, they shapes the organic, that is the animal, flora, fauna, in fact, including the human beings here. So this was seen here. So he believed any geographical statement elaborates the relation between inorganic control and the organic responses. So this was basically done by the W.M. Davis here. Okay, you can go to his. Okay, till now we require just this much. When we'll be understanding the geomorphology, when we'll be studying the geomorphology, we'll be understanding W.M. Davis and his work in very detail. Next is Ellsworth Huntington. He is one of a very important theorist or geographer here. So he was also one of the Davis's disciple who wrote The Pulse of Asia. Basically, we will see that Huntington did a very high research on the Asian aspect here. He has worked over the region of China, he has worked over the region of India, and he has written this book, The Pulse of Asia. Now, he developed environmental deterministic themes, concluding geographical studies, physical environment conditions, influencing human character and forming history's basis. So this is one of the part where the Huntington was involved. Next is Griffith Taylor. Griffith Taylor, we will see that we can see his timeline 1880 to 1963. So he was the person who belonged to the part of the classical to the modern and the postmodern age to a certain extent also. So he has given us a particular aspect of or thought of stop and go determinism. So basically what happened, we know determinism will be understanding possibilism in the next coming aspect. So what people used to believe that there is actually an approach to understand geography, there is actually an approach to study geography. So people used to follow a deterministic perspective on one hand and the possibilistic approach on another hand. So there was always confusion that what is more determining what. Okay, so here the people, they used to argue, they used to write papers, they used to give thoughts that how this can be balanced here. So Griffith Taylor was the person who has given a stop and go determinism. So in his 1951 book, that is Geography in the 20th century. Okay, Geography in the 20th century is the name of the book where he has defined the stop and go determinism, which is also called as neo determinism. So this neo determinism concept, it actually balanced the determinism with the possibilism. Okay, in determinism we say that the man's actions, it is dictated by the environment, while in possibilism we say that the humans are able to control their environment also. So in between both the things there was stop and go determinism. So here we see that there, to a certain extent, yes, environment is controlling the activities of human beings, and to a certain extent human can control their environment. And this is basically balanced, and there is a to a certain extent, if the humans control their environment completely, then this particular environment, it will be bound to fail. Okay, which we see in the declining carrying capacity of the earth in the contemporary time, where the carrying capacity of the earth is declining. So this is one of the part where we see that When we control our environment more, it is bound to fail, it is bound to crash. So this is being given here by the Griffith Taylor. So he conceptualized the natural environment as charting a main road for humanity's development with humans as traffic officers who can temporarily control but not fundamentally alter the direction of development. So this is being seen by the Griffith Taylor. Then there is Alfred Hettner. Alfred Hettner is a very important person which you will be understanding in the development of chorology. You will be also seeing this. Yes, there is Hartshorne also. So he has given one of the basis or foundation for the development of regional geography, the regional synthesis, and he is also one of the person who was giving a quite important part for geography being a we can say that a descriptive science. Okay, so early critique of environmental determinism in continental Europe proposed sophisticated conceptions stressing how nature merely restricts available opportunity rather than determining the outcomes here. So this is given by the Alfred Hettner. What guys, I am giving here the various theorists with respect to the development of the determinism part here. So what you need to do, you need to see that how these theorists, their quotes, their books can be used in the answer writing. When you are able to do this particular activity, okay, so here we have Mayur Sharma. Hello Mayur. Take name big fan. I didn't understand this. Take name big fan. Okay, you can elaborate this later. I am continuing it here. So historical evolution and critique here. Okay, so environmental determinism peaked in the first half of the 20th century. Okay, justifying geography's status as a discipline where scientific study of environment's effect on human activities became the core here. Okay, I'm repeating it again, where scientific study of environment effect on human activities become the core. Post World War II, okay, post World War II, that is the 1945 and later there was development of quantitative revolution. So here the environmental determinism. See this, there is also another story. I'll be explaining this after we complete this line. It faced severe criticism for justifying racism and imperialism by the 1950s. Technological advances in geography's internal crisis softened deterministic stances, giving way to possibilism and later the quantitative revolution's scientific determinism. Now, there is something which is provided in this line. Okay, imperialism and justifying the this part here. I am taking a new page so that we can discuss this in detail. Okay, so what this is specifying here under the determinism, it achieved its peak in around 1850s, where the development of the geographical stream, this was majorly seen as the determinism. Okay, that is the nature is determining everything. Now, what geographers in the various schools like German, German school, then we have Anglo American, then we have Russian, French, etc. All of them they started with the environmental determinism thought. So this was one of the paradigm. This was one of the paradigm which was present at those time period. Okay. Now here what happened when the physiological adaptation, the physiological adaptation was seen that this is basically determining that what is the stature of humans, what is the color of the humans, what is the height, what is the color of the eyes, what is the shape of the nose, what is the shape of the face, what is the color of their skin, hair, how their hair type is, either it is curly or it is straight. So it was seen that a particular region, a particular area was given a specific traits, that this region is given these specific traits, and the behavior of the people were also linked to it. So we'll be understanding this through one of the case study of German and Jews. So what traits we see under the Germans and Jews? German, we will see that they were given as the Aryans, the original Aryans. Okay, Jews, they were given as one of the trait as intermixed. Okay, they were not considered as the original Aryans by the Germans. Okay, here we will see the physiological trait. For example, they have good height, that is stature. The color of the eyes, it was bluish. If you have blue color of your eyes, you are considered as Aryan. If you do not have a blue eye, you are not considered as Aryan. So this has basically resulted into the death or the perishing of that particular person. Then we will say that on the basis of this, they were considered more having more strength. They were given a stamp of they were more honest. Naturally, they were implied that they are more aggressive. If you are aggressive, you are considered as German. If you are not aggressive, you are not considered as German. So this was certain parts we will see here. So on the basis of this, what happened that people used to differentiate themselves from one person, that is German, from the non-Germans. Okay, so it was seen that is the Nazi thought or the fascist thought come from this particular aspect, that this physiological adaptations they have given that the superior race, that is Aryans, should only live in this earth, and the non-superior races, they have to be made extinct. So under this particular part, Jews have been one of the we can say the victims, because they were also one of the important part of the development of Germany. Okay, but they were considered as non-Aryans. So therefore, we read in the history that millions of Jews, they were killed. Okay, they were massacred by the Germans here, and basically this ideology, this was propagated by Hitler. So he was considered as one of the person who is responsible for killing millions of peoples over the world. So this is one of the part where the physiological adaptation, this went into the this went into the declaration of the superior race, that is Aryans, for the world. And they also declared that only this race should survive over the earth, and the other race, they should die, or they should be non-existent over the earth. So this thought we see that this became one of the issue, where the determinism was one of the aspects which actually determined that what can be the color, what can be the color of eye, skin, the stature, the color of the hair. So all these things were determining by the deterministic thought here. So therefore this deterministic thought, after the World War II, so this was everything went against it, that it is not the deterministic thought, it should be the possibilistic thought which should move further. But not only possibilism, it also went on the back foot. It was the scientific inquiry or the scientific temper, it should move further. Okay, now coming back to the respect here. Okay, Now, second thought we have here, that is the possibilism. So it is the human agency within the environmental constraints. Now, background and the core philosophy, if you want to understand about the possibilism, we see that, for example, we are humans. We see here that both of us, like human beings, like you and like me, so we are able to have certain conditions here. For example, uh, not taking a very high stance, just 300 to 400 years from right now, we could not have a communication like I am telling you right now, I'm teaching you right now, and you are able to respond me directly into the YouTube. Okay, so in the chat we can talk with each other. Okay, we can talk with each other. You can provide your details. You can be sitting in India, you can be sitting in the anywhere in the world, in any country or any region. So but we can communicate with each other. So this is one of the constraint, that is time and distance. Time and distance is a constraint. Okay, if I want to travel for 100 kilometers, I have to cover a particular distance, I have to cover a particular time. So that can be 1 hour, 2 hour, but we are communicating here within seconds here. So this is one of the constraint, that is time and distance. Other thing we will say that whatever you say, I can listen to it very clearly. What I can say, you can listen to it clearly. Okay, you can see me right now, though although in a camera, or although we can you can see me here in a particular, we can say, tab or mobile phone or desktop, anything it can be, but we can see each other. Other things what we can see, you might be living in a, if you're present in North America, sorry, North India, so it is very cold there. So there are mechanisms now with which you can make your room quite warmer. So this is also possibilistic stance here. Next thing, the AQI of the Delhi region or the northern India region, it is almost around 400 to 500 in the contemporary time. So there we see that we have certain devices like air purifiers. Okay, we have air purifiers. Through this air purifier, you can take this AQI down to 80 to 100 also, even 40, 50 also. So these are certain technological development which have helped the human beings to overcome the constraints of the environment. So this stance was seen as one part when the theorists or the geographers used to say that yes, humans can overcome the constraints of the environment and they can build something which is according to the laws which is dictated by the human beings, and not the laws which is dictated by the environment over the human beings. So this was a thought where there was a complete change of stance, that is environment is dictating the human beings, okay, the laws and conditions, and it became almost opposite, that now humans are dictating the conditions and the laws to the environment, that how humans want to live here. Now let's look at in more detail. Possibilism emerged as a direct counter to the environmental determinism, most associated with French geographer Vidal de la Blasha. The approach recognizes human initiative as significant, arguing humans select environmental uses from many possibilities presented by the nature. Now, here what we see that the humans were providing certain possibilities, uh, which opportunities were provided by the environment to the human being. So human can choose and they can modify them here. This choice depends on culture, both inherited and continuously elaborated through environmental interaction. So the choice which is taken, okay, which is chosen by the human beings here under the conditions or opportunities provided by environment, and that depends on the culture. For example, what crop I want to eat today. I want to eat wheat, I want to eat rice, I want to eat maize, millets, anything. So environment is providing me possibility. But where I am living, it is very difficult to grow wheat. So but environment is giving me one of the opportunity to grow wheat. So I will change the climatic conditions according to the growth of wheat. So in the region of Punjab and Haryana, Punjab and Haryana, we will see that the region, it is not very highly suitable for the growth of rice, but it is highly suitable for the growth of wheat and millet. Okay. Through the Green Revolution that started in 1960s in India, we were able to change our cropping pattern. We were able to change our cropping pattern, and there was a shift which took place from millets to the rice. So this was one of the condition which is a possibilistic approach which is seen in the Green Revolution in India. But yes, there are certain positive aspect like we have achieved. India have achieved food security. India have achieved the export of food. But second thing was that there is a high scale degradation of soil, decline of water table. There is we can say the deforestation, or we can say the desertification is being highly taken in the region of Punjab and Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh region. So this is something which is an outcome of the human activities, the choice which is made by the humans. So this can not always be very much beneficial because we have broken the laws of the environment. So there is certain consequences which are also faced by the human beings in the contemporary time. Okay. So this is also given by the Vidal, that Vidal has said that we cannot control our environment completely. We have certain extent, we have certain limits, that environment is giving an opportunity to the human beings to an extent to which they can control the environment and not completely. So this was Vidal's thoughts. Okay, but they were changed later by like Lucien Febvre, who said that there and humans can do anything. Okay, humans can do anything. Humans, if they want to grow wheat, rice, if they want to grow hybrid varieties, they can do anything in anywhere in the world. Not in the world, but universe. So this was one of the thought of Lucien Febvre. But yes, that is not completely true. Certain we can say agencies have followed that thought also, but they were not able to succeed because yes, to a certain extent humans can do something, but overall we see that there are consequences. So we have to come back to the condition where our conditions or our governing conditions have to be determined by the environment where we are living here. Okay, so let's look at the possibilism and the key theorists who are associated. Number one, we have Paul Vidal de la Blasha. Okay, 1945 to 1918. We can say this is the second half of the 20th century here. So he is considered as the father of the human geography and founder of the French human geography tradition, because before this we have seen that there was Montesquieu. So Montesquieu, he was one of the person or a geographer who also believed in the determinism. But after this, we see that he has a certain glimpse of the possibilism, of which Vidal was inspired of the second thought, that is the possibilist part, that is the human geographical part here. What Vidal do here, he developed the concept of pace. Now, what Vidal did in this particular aspect here, we will be taking this here. Vidal saw river, the river region or the river region here. What he saw that a river is flowing through a region, and there are certain people who are living in patches in these particular regions. So what he did here, wherever the people were living, he studied those patches of land, the behavior of people, the culture of the people, what agricultural practices they had, what kind of clothes they are wearing, what languages they are speaking, what traditions they are following. So, through which he identified that these river valleys, the people who are living in this part here, they have different cultures, different practices, and overall, their complete lifestyle, it was varying from one region to another region. Therefore, he called this particular patch of land as pays. This is pay 1, this is pay 2, this is pay 3, and this is pay for. What he saw here, that there are set of cultures, set of traditions, set of food, set of cloth, which varied here. So he called that variation as genre de via. Okay, the variations which are taking place between this region, it is genre de via. Okay, so small rural regions in France which unique agricultural patterns due to specific soil, water supply, economic specificity, and urban demand. Okay, so here it was different here. He argued that within the environmental limits, human culture determines which possibilities are realized here. He also emphasized genre divide, that is the way of life reflecting unique environmental relationships in each phase. Okay, the unique environmental relationship in each phase. He also opposed environmental determinism, establishing possibilism as dominant school by the 1950s. So, from this particular aspect here, where geography had a particular paradigm of determinism, or we can say the environmental determinism, it started to gain dichotomy and dualism. Dichotomy and dualism of possibilism and determinism. That geography can have two approaches to understand geography. It can be a possibilistic view and it can also be a deterministic view. This also gave geography a dual paradigmic phase, where two paradigms existed simultaneously to study the approach for geography. Okay, so this is the second aspect here. Now, moving forward, at the red BAMS simplified. No one is here. I can see no one is here, but how you are able to comment on this part? No issues. Welcome to Civil Prep. I am Krishna Gupta. We will be studying more in detail in future. Okay. So next here is Lucien Fabre. Lucien Fabre, we will see that he's a historian who extremified possibilism towards the voluntarism. Okay. Now, let's understand this in detail. For example, we have determinism, we have possibilism. Determinism and possibilism, they are thoughts. Okay, they are perception to see something from the view of the society or the scientific view. In between this, we have neo determinism, which is balancing the thoughts of determinism and possibilism. Okay, between this we have certain other things like we have scientific determinism. Okay, under the possibilism we have possibilistic aspect here. For example, we have the technological determinism, which is part of the possibilism here. So here what we see that when a particular understanding of a subject is seen and it went ahead of the possibilism here and it became a part of the voluntarism. Okay, voluntarism is something where the people or the we can say that particular thought which is present in that particular time, there is humans can do anything. So this was something which was seen as a part of the voluntarism, that is beyond the possibilistic thought. Okay, so this is voluntarism aspect here. So his famous statement, there are no necessities but everywhere possibilities. Necessity is something which is different from the possibilities. What is necessity? For example, I need a 2 to 3 meal a day to eat and to survive. So that is my necessity. But what I'm seeing here that I'm able to craft my meal, that what I want to eat, what standards I want, what should be present in those meals, what should be the varieties. So when I am doing it, taking it more from the aspect of my need to the aspect where I am having large number of meals, which is not actually my requirement also. So that is a possibilistic thing here. For example, what clothes I'm wearing. There is a normal thing that during the winter season I need a simple sweater and a simple, we can say, pant or jeans here. But I'm going beyond it. I'm taking here the woolen clothes, the set of woolen clothes, a set of, we can say, the cotton clothes, a set of, we can say, jackets, and a lot of things. So this is a possibilism which is increasing here. This is the voluntarism, that voluntary I'm demanding a lot of things which is not actually needed for me in this particular aspect. So this is voluntarism. So Lucien Fabre was a geographer, but he was also a historian here. As a historian, he differentiated human environment relationships and time, arguing environment mattered for early civilizations, but socio-economic forces dominated modern ones, paving way for economic and cultural determinism. So here we can see that the second aspects which are also important here, that was economic determinism and cultural determinism. So this will go for the positivistic aspect, that is economic determinism and cultural determinism. Okay, so these are also the school of thoughts which are important from the perspective of Lucien Febvre. So Lucien Febvre's thoughts were not completely taken into the considerations. He was like his thoughts were opposed, and it was specified that we need to have a balanced approach for the development of geography. We cannot develop geography from a perspective like if we got certain resource, we are exhausting it completely so that we can control our environment. So no, this was not taken into part here. Next is Jean Tunis. Okay, Jean Tunis, we have seen that he was one of the person who is also associated with the psychological aspect here to understand the human environment relationships. So Jean Tunis, he adopted the moderate fossibilistic view closer to the Vidal. Okay, if we look at the Vidal's perspective of possibilism, that was quite moderate. It was not extreme like Lucien Febvre. He introduced the psychological factor mediating human environmental relationships. So this we see that this is one of the aspect of the behavioral geography. So under the behavioral geography, what mental map we perceive of the environment, we are trying to we not try actually, we give a natural response according to the perception of the reality, that is our environment and a relationship with the environment. So he rejected the divisions of human geography into passive and active elements. He argued environment determines world elements, but humans carry mental representations partly depending on themselves. So he is one of the person or geographer who is associated with the we can say the behavioralist school. So under the behavioralism, there is a lot of things which is determined by the environment. So this is also one of the deterministic part here, where where the environment is shaping the mental map, or we can say the behavior of the human beings according to the what environment the human beings are living in. So under this philosophy, what it is in that the humans, they change their environment, and the environment, it changes the human condition. So both these behavioral aspect, that is of the environment and the human behavior, it coexisted together. Humans changing the environment and environment changing the human beings. So this was taken as like this. Okay, so this was something which was given by the Jean Brunus here. Now, moving forward, the global variations of possibilism. Now, we see that the possibilism was present. It started as a in the French school by the Vidal, but it was also present in the Russian school as the indeterminism. It was present in the American school in the form of cultural determinism. It was present in the British school in the form of probabilism. Okay, so these are the three important variants of the possibilism which are present in Russian school, American school, and the British school or the Anglo school also we can say that. Starting with the Russian school, Russian, it is highly deterministic in nature. Okay, but when they understood that yes, we can control the nature to a certain extent, they have started this indeterminism school. So this was a state-sponsored philosophy to overcome the harsh Russian environments. For example, Serbia, you might be knowing that the temperature during the winter season it dips to -40 to -60 degrees Celsius. There is no water present in the liquid state. It is majorly present in the solid state. Okay. So how these things can be changed? So this can be done by changing the environment by the human beings. So Prokovsky and the Gerasimov, they argued that technology provides tools to control nature with human economic needs determining the activities. For example, in the harsh climatic region, we want to grow food. So it is very difficult. So how it can be done? It can be done by the use of the technology. What is the technology? It is the development of the greenhouse gas and artificially keeping that house warm. So with this two aspect here, we were able to grow crops during the winter season also in the Serbian region. So this was something which was determined with respect to the human economic needs and determining the human activities also. So very important part, though very less asked in exam, but yes, we should know because we don't know when it will be asked in future also. Next is American cultural determinism, that is Carl Sawyer. Tick here 5 star. Very important. Okay, very important here. So this we see here, Carl Sawyer is belonging to the Berkeley School, okay, of the American school. So Carl Sawyer basically saw that the possibilism part here, it is very much important, which is linked to the human geography. So here what he saw that the full cognitive dimensions to the cultural geography, studying how culture actively transform the natural landscapes here. Okay. Now, coming back to this aspect here, Carl Sagan what saw here that human is important and human is central to the geographical studies. So this was identified by him. Next, what he saw that the human activities it is changing the environment. Okay, but in terms of the change of environment, it was again saw that the environment is changing the human behavior. So what he see that what he did certain experiments. He went to certain areas like Kentucky. He went to the areas of the tribal areas and he saw the activities and practices. He saw that the certain different regions of America, they have different cultural practices and different traditions. But when he tried to form the roots, he saw that the roots for 1, 2, and 3, it was quite similar. 5, 4, 5, and 6, it was also quite similar. But again, he tried to find the roots of how these were quite similar and how they changed. So here what he saw that with the development, with the economic activities, with the migration, there was changes in the system or changes in the practices which has taken place multiple times. Okay, it has taken place multiple times. Why? Because the human behavior changed with time and humans have changed their environment and the environment again it changed the human beings with time. So he understood that with 5 to 6 generations which saw this particular changes quite rapidly, they have basically changed the system to a very high extent. Okay, so it was quite difficult to find the roots of the people who were following these traditions or culturals and practices. Therefore this was taken as taken up as a part of the cultural determinism. And he said that, I'm reading this line here, studying how culture activity transforms the natural landscapes. For example, right, 150 years, if we go in America and certain region, there might be presence of agricultural land, or it can be a barren land. But in the contemporary time, there is presence of either industries or high rises. Okay, so here there is a not a very, we can say that their transition, this is not very smooth, but it has taken place in certain steps. So these certain steps, it has taken place here quite fast. Okay, these steps have been quite fast, because of which he was not able to determine that what were the roots here. So this is American cultural determinism by the Carl Sear. Next is British probabilism, that is Oak Spade. Now, when French school, German school, Russian school, and Anglo-American school, they understood that yes, there is certain part of human beings which is trying to control the environment. So here the OHK Spate, okay, OHK Spate, he is also a geographer. He is influenced by the Vidal. Okay, so he saw that the probabilities are there. Okay, sorry, the possibilities are there, but these possibilities, it is more probable. There are certain possibilities which are more probable than the other. For example, if I have given conditions, if I have given five conditions or five chances to do something, so there are certain chances that I will accept one and two more over three and four. So this was something which was seen here, which was more of a probability. That was more probable that humans will try to do this thing more probably. If I am given a condition that I can do activity one and I can grow certain crops, or I can do activity two, or I can import crops from other region, but I can improve my income from 1000 euros to 10,000 euros. So obviously the people will go for the activity two. So this activity two, this was taken as a probability or probabilism, which was part of the possibilism, where he introduced chance elements and human endeavor to achieve the Vidalian balance. Okay, so he has given a chance elements here and the human endeavor, that we actually want a better lifestyle, better food, better quality of living, better welfare. So all these things were taken into consideration. Most of the things were taken into consideration, and it was seen that the humans choosing of the certain, we can say certain events or certain, we can say activities, it is probable in nature. So this was a probabilism thought which came out of the British school. Okay, now the evolution of these thoughts, that is the possibilism and determinism and the contemporary relevance. In the next phase, what happened? The possibilism determinism, basically it was detecting the thoughts of how the development of geography should take place in the future. But this was taken up by the quantitative revolution. So the quantitative revolution temporarily subordinated possibilism to scientific determinism. So this was something where we see that, where we see that the scientific determinism, if we have one of the thought, so it subordinated possibilism. Okay, by the 1970s, the humanistic geography revived the human agency thought, though sometimes overemphasizing normative values and neglecting environmental roles. Recent environmentalism attempts to achieve Vidalian balance between the human and environment. So this is something what we see is, okay, I think we are back. I might have lost the link here. Okay, so what we see here in this part, that uh, when the quantitative revolution came into the picture, it was basically having the scientific determinism, that is the positivistic philosophy, and possibilism, which is the part that humans can control the environment, it became a subordinate to the scientific determinism. Yes, humans can are trying to control the environment, but it was taken up as one of the sub part of the logical positivism, which is the scientific determinism. Now the same thing, okay, this quantitative revolution of scientific determinism, it went to back foot, okay, and the possibilism came again to the picture in the form of the environmentalism in the contemporary time. But this possibilism, it had more balance of human and environment, which was seen in the Vidal's philosophy. So this thing is also very much important. This line is very much important. You should mark this as right. One thing, guys, if you want the same PDF, you can go to you can enroll to the course. Okay, I'll just specify that how this is done. Okay, I'm opening the internet. This is civilprep.in. Okay, under civilprep.in. Okay, we have to, you can log in here. If you did not, you have to log in. Okay, here you can go to the courses. After you go to the courses, you can come to here. There is a premium here, premium course. This premium course, you will see that you have daily answer writing, you have test series and a lot of things along with the value added materials. But you need to come to the freemium course. Okay, this is freemium. You have to click to it. Okay, you have to open this course. Now, here you will see that you get overview, you get curriculum here. When you open the curriculum, here there is lecture 2, the classical debates, introduction and aerial differentiation, uh, Harshun Shaffer debate. Okay, you can open this one. Here you will see there is a PDF is uploaded. Okay, and you can see this PDF. This is the same PDF which I am using here to teach you. Okay, this was actually present in your account. Okay, you can download this PDF and use it as per your understanding and perception. Okay, so in this way you can use this PDF here. Coming back to the class. Yes, Sonali, this complete freemium course, it is for free. Okay, now this is possibilism and determinism. You will, if you go to the PYQs, you will find that there are a number of questions which are present, which are asked directly in possibilism and determinism. There are certain questions which are asked indirectly also. So you can go to the PYQ section of free resources and you can find certain questions and answers which will be updated with time. If you want the answer writing for this part, you can go for the the premium course where you will be getting answer writing, the weekly test series, okay, weekly test, and there will be total 22 tests which will be covered along with the completion of this course here. Okay, so that will be very much beneficial for you guys. Okay, now moving to the next part, that is physical geography versus the human geography, the dichotomy debate. Now, physical geography versus the human geography. Why this thing came into the picture? Why this thought came into the picture? Let's understand this. Now, to a certain extent, what we see that when we see the work of the red cell, that is anthropogeography 1 and anthropogeography 2, what here we saw that anthropogeography 1 has the aspect of the study of the physical geography, and the anthropogeography 2 has the context of the human geography. Now, the major question was what? The question was, what is the approach to study geography as a subject? What is the approach should be followed to develop geography as a discipline? Should it be physical geography alone? Should it be human geography alone? Or should it be a synthesis of physical geography and the human geography? So this was one of the question which was looming since the 1800 to 1900. So this was a very big issue. Certain geographers, they went ahead with the physical geography following. Certain geographers went ahead with the human geography for its following. That is, the development of subject should be like this. But this resulted into the development of dichotomy and dualism. Dichotomy and dualism. Basically, what is dichotomy and dualism? Dichotomy is something, for example, I'm starting from A and I'm reaching at B. So what I want to reach at B? What I see here that I have path one where I start from A and I reach at B. This is path one. But at a certain point of time, also I have part two, which I can start, I can take part two, and I can reach to P. So this is a dichotomy between two paths. But what I say that the starting is same and the ending is also same here. The difference is what? It is just the path. Dualism is what? What is dualism? Dualism, we will see that it is basically the existence of these two paths at the same point of time. For example, the physical geography and the human geography, these are the dual paths which are present in the same point of time. So the geography was looking at this dichotomy and dualism in this time period here. So let's understand this in more detail. Now, historical genesis, we will see that the physical human geography divide was highlighted by Varenius in his Geographia Journalis, that is present, that was written in the classical period. Though traces appear in the ancient, medieval, and the Arab geography also. For example, if we see the work of Strabo, if we see the work of the Greek philosophers, the Plato, Aristotle, here we see that there is certain intermixing of the physical geography and the human geographical aspect. Physical geography, like certain climate, certain temperature, certain precipitation present in certain region is influencing the human behavior or human culture or the human food or the human clothes. So these are certain things were seen in a quite apt way. But this was taken as one of the part where how geography have to be developed, how it has to be understood here. Now, there were certain competing philosophical positions which were seen during the classical period. So here one of the important person is Varenius, who have highlighted this physical and human geography conflict or divide in the Geographia Journalis. Now, Isaac Varenius, who is present since 1962 to 1650. He is basically belonging to the classical period, which is come after the Renaissance period. He stressed physical geography's primacy as the systematic or scientific, okay, which was an important part here. He placed the human geography in special geography as footnote to the general physical geography. Okay, he believed human presence made geography less scientific since humans aren't subject to the systematic study. What this statement means, this is very important statement. If we look at certain landforms, the landforms, they follow a general law. Okay, they follow general law of the environment of the we can say of the universe. But human beings, human mind, it is not subjected to the general laws which are present over the environment. How? I am Krishna Gupta. I am living in Nagpur, Maharashtra. Okay. There is certain another person who is living in Delhi. There is another person who is living in Bangalore. Certain person living in Chennai. We might share certain values, certain traditions, certain culture, but not all culture, all tradition, all practices. When I compare the person who are living in India to the person who are living currently in Europe or Australia, they are very much different in their food habits, their our cultural habits, our cloth habits, our way of talking, our way of living, way of interaction, way of thought, in fact. So what we see here, we are biologically same everywhere. We are biologically same everywhere, but we are culturally different also everywhere. We means we humans. Humans are biologically same everywhere, but culturally different everywhere. Therefore, humans are a subjective thing who do not follow a universal law. Humans do not follow a universal law because it is very subjective to understand a human and draft certain laws according to him, which should be universally accepted or universally applicable. Therefore, this human study, it was taken as a part of the special geography. This special geography came into the picture as a part of the human geography. Okay, so this was one of the part of the Varenius. After Varenius, we see Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant, one of ambidextrous person, is a scientist, also geographer. He lived from a time period of 1724 to 1804. So this we see that as a starting point of the early, we can say early classical period. So he gave greater significance to humans, okay, recommending development of both physical and human trends. Okay, now what Kant used to see that Kant used to see that the development of a subject, for example, he was also related to physics. So he saw that there is a certain specific laws which are applied to physics, but he was also studying history and geography. He saw that there are not specific laws which can be applied to the history and geography. Therefore, he gave history and geography as the exceptional subjects where they are more descriptive in nature and the applicability of law is very limited. And history and geography, they are exceptional subject. Therefore the thought which came into the picture here, the perception, that was the concept of exceptionalism. So under this exceptionalism, geography was given as the subject which was chorological. The thought which came here, that was the chorology. Okay, chorology and geography was chorological, where we are trying to study the event which is present over the Same space over different time period. This is time 1, this is time 2, this is time 3, and this is time 4. It can be 100 years, for example. It is 2000, 1900, 2000, 1900, 1800, 1700. Okay, so these are the different time period of the study of the same space. Okay, I'm talking here the same space. So this was a concept which was given by the Immanuel Kant. Same thing was taken forward by Hartshorne and Hettner. Okay, Hartshorne and Hettner, they have taken this concept forward. Okay, they have uh, before starting this, Immanuel Kant was the geographer who has given this geography as ideographic. Ideographic means the descriptive study of a subject. It made geography more ideographic here. Okay, how it changed, we will study that in the coming part here. Okay, now next is Alexander von Humboldt and Karl Ritter. Alexander von Humboldt, very important person, which is present from 1769 to 1859, and Karl Ritter, 1779 to 1859. Now, Humboldt, he was primarily concerned with the physical geography, mainly climatology, biogeography, using the inductive systematic methods, while Ritter, he favored for both physical and human geography, including description of both phenomena across continents in his Erdkunde book. Okay, Ritter and Humboldt, they were belonging basically to the German school, and here Humboldt, he have primarily emphasized the physical geography, systematic geography, physical geography. Okay, and he was basically looking at the various climatic and the geographical phenomena or biogeographical phenomena, and he has specifically studied the region of South America. Okay, you might listen to the Humboldt Glacier, which is vanishing in contemporary time. You will listen to the Humboldt current. Okay, the Perry current, it is also called as the Humboldt current. So this is named after this Humboldt. Okay, now institutional divergence, we will see here that German school dominated by physical geography and geomorphology. Okay, here you will see G.K. Gilbert. Okay, you can also see Kant. Okay, then French school, we will see the distinct involvement of historians facilitated the human geography development, like Vidal. American school, early 20th century dominated by physical geography because of W.M. Davis. Later shifted to human geography by the Carl Sawyer. Okay, that we have already discussed in the previous part. Now, conceptual differences, physical geography. Subject matter here was environment and its variables. Human as part of environment like other life forms, based on deterministic principles where natural laws govern the phenomena. Scientific in nature, searching for the universal laws. So this was something which was attached to the physical geography. Now, when we come to the human geography, humans at the core with elevated status above the other life forms were taken here. Subject matter here was man-nature relationship, that was a two-way interaction. That is, humans are modifying the environment and environment is modifying the human beings back again. Here the study part was ideographic method, mostly used due to the human uniqueness and dynamism. Attempts at deterministic study, environmental scientific, haven't succeeded fully. Okay, so these were the two subject matter and the difference between the study of human geography and the physical geography. Now, here what we see that in this particular time period, there was study of physical geography and human geography. It was seen as a different part here. But what it was seen later on with the study of various data, various, we can say, regions, it was realized that studying physical geography in its own, it is not correct because human being is actively modifying their environment through the time period, which can be studied only by the studying the human geographical aspect also. Same thing applied to the human geography, that environment is something which is modifying or which is dictating the actions of the human beings or determining the action of the human beings. Therefore, physical geography is an important part which is specifying both these things here. Therefore, this result into the next phase of the geographical development, which was a regional synthesis. Regional synthesis, we will see here that what which was basically taken up by Hetner and Hartshorne. Here they have given a particular way where the human geography and physical geography were studied hand on hand together. Whenever there is a study of the region, we can see here, I'm taking it in the next part here. Whenever there is a study of a particular region, so under this region, we are taking certain factors here, which were also consisting of human as well as the physical factors. Like if we are taking as climate, we are taking as a mountain, river, then we are taking a soil, rock, certain factors here. I am also taking here certain aspect of human geography like culture, crop, then language, then cloth, then primary activity, secondary activity, tertiary activity. So in this way, what we were doing here, we were synthesizing the region with human geography and the physical geography together. Okay, this thing which we are seeing here, this is a part of the regional synthesis, and this is called as Barry's matrix. This Barry's matrix, it was able to synthesize the human geography and the physical geography together. Okay, now let's look at this part. Towards the synthesis, the separation is a matter of convenience, allowing systematic study of complex reality. Regional geography demonstrates their inseparability. Regions are differentiated based on the unique human environment interrelationships. Modern themes like environmental geography and applied geography show the convergence here. How the convergence is being done, we are seeing it in the previous part. Now, contemporary challenges, what is happening in the recent times. The growing technical complexity in physical geography, that is AI, remote sensing, creates separation. As human geographers trained in humanities cannot cope, pushing physical geography as sub-branches closer to the sister disciplines also. So this here we see as a part of the synthesis of the human geography and the physical geography. Okay, now before going to the part of the aerial differentiation, I want to discuss something which is quite important. Now, we are completing here the possibilism, the determinism, the dichotomy and dualism between the two part here. We are also seeing here we will be discussing the debate of the Schaffer and the Hartshorne in the coming lectures. But I want to discuss something which is important from the perspective of perception development. Just give me a second. Now, what we need to study here, which is important for understanding this complete picture, That what are paradigms? Now, the aspirants who are watching this lecture live, can I ask you that what is a paradigm? Can you explain it by writing it there in the chat box? What is a paradigm? Anyone? Can you answer what is a paradigm? Can you answer what is a paradigm? Okay, Urmila Nayak is saying the stage of development of geography. Okay, the stage of development of geography. But can you elaborate it more further that how this stage came into the picture, what is present in that stage, and how one stage is different from another stage? Yes, you can try to answer this question. This answering this question will make things more simple to understand. Other aspirants can also try. Okay, determinism, possibilism. Okay, so this is a paradigm, the stage of the development of geography. Okay, now let's understand this in more detail. Now, what happens here? For example, I have certain development of a thought. Now, I'm trying to develop certain thought. For example, I try to understand that how nature is putting constraint over the human activities, or nature is defining the human activities. So, to this thought, what I see that not only I am being controlled, but a lot of other communities, other people, even other animals and plants are also controlled by the environment. So I try to see that there is presence of certain philosophy. Okay, this thought it prevails into a philosophy which is present in that particular thought. Okay, for example, determinism in this particular aspect. Now, in the next stage, what I will be doing here, I will be trying to make my all the researches, my studies, my economic activities. Okay, along with this, my I can say that the study of various fields, the economic activities. With this, I can say the regional studies, putting them into the planning phase, and whatever issues are being faced by me. These issues are also seen from the perspective of that particular philosophy. So everything what I am doing in the next phase, it is now having a link, a direct link to that particular philosophy, which in this case is determinism. So what I'm saying here that my this thought or this particular philosophy, it is having influence over my all the activities. So this thing or this phase where this particular thought is prevailing, this particular philosophy is prevailing, this is called as a paradigm. Okay, this is called as a paradigm in this part. Okay, understood, Urmila? There is a dominance of this particular thought. It is not like that the possibilism is not being thought of, the other philosophies are not being thought of, but here the major thought it is given for the determinism. Yes, great. So here what we will see in the next is that there are various paradigms which are present over the development of geography. Now, the paradigm what we see here that it was majorly defined by Kuhn and Popper. What Kuhn and Popper did, they tried to define a particular stage of the presence of a paradigm, and they tried to define that how a paradigm works and how there is a shift in paradigm. They define what is paradigm and the shift in paradigm. How this is done, they have provided a particular phase or a cycle, which is called as a paradigm cycle. Okay, under paradigm cycle, we can understand it like this. Initially, what is there? There is a prevalence of a particular thought in stage one. Okay, this thought, it starts to gather a particular, we can say, a momentum, and it is followed by masses, turning into a philosophy. Okay, this what will it will do again in the next part? It will become dominant in the next phase. Okay, but in the next phase what there will be there, as it becomes dominant, there will be certain issues issues faced by people, which is not solved by the prevailing paradigm. Okay, there will be certain issues which will not be seen and which will not be solved by this particular paradigm. Therefore, there will be a rise of other thoughts. I'm taking this as blue in color. There will be rise in other thoughts. And what will happen here? There will be I'm changing here color again. There will be a revolution. There will be revolution. Under this revolution phase, we will see that there is a paradigm shift. There is a paradigm shift is taking place. For example, this determinism dominant paradigm, it is coming down, and there is a rising of another paradigm. Okay, for example, this can be possibilism, and after this, we have a paradigm of, we can say, areal differentiation. Okay, there is a paradigm shift, and there is a revolution here, which has basically seen this phase. Okay, so here the paradigm, it is now changed paradigm, or this is paradigm 2. So in this way, we see that there is always a change in the paradigm, which has been explained very well by the Kuhn and Popper here. Okay, so Kuhn and Popper are able to explain this paradigm shift, which is important for us to understand. Now, in the next phase, what we can understand the development of various paradigms which have been seen in the part of the geography. I am taking new page here. Now, we can see certain paradigm shift which has taken place in the previous times here. Starting here from the first paradigm which I am seeing here, that is the areal differentiation. Okay, areal differentiation. This areal differentiation, it was taken back by the next paradigm, which I'm taking in green. That is the quantitative revolution. Okay, quantitative revolution. After quantitative revolution, I see that there is development of three different paradigms here. After the social relevance movement, this is social relevance movement, which is also called as the critical revolution. Okay, after critical revolution, there was development of three phases of a paradigm. We can also call it as four. So this was radicalism, then there was behavioralism, after behavioralism there was, we can say, humanist geography. Okay, under the radicalism we have two parts here, that is welfareism and Marxism. Remember that welfareism and Marxism, they are output of the radicalism which have developed in the next phase. They are not the different paradigms of this field. Okay. Now, radicalism, behavioralism, and humanism, they merge with the critical geography. And there was again a paradigm shift. There was again a paradigm shift, which was a functionalist. Okay, there was a functionalist and a feminist geography. Okay, functionalist and feminist geography. Along with this, there was a major paradigm that came after this, that was environmentalism. Environmentalism was the mirror major paradigm, which started from 1960s, but it came into the major picture during the, we can say, 1990s. It became the major paradigm, and currently we see that it is 2025, and environmentalism still remains the major paradigm of the study of geography here. Okay, so this part we see here, I'm just taking it a bit to express it more freely here. Okay, so this is the environmentalism. which is the major paradigm of the geography. Now, when we look at the timeline here, up to the 1940s, there was areal differentiation, then quantitative revolution up till 1960s. Okay, 1940s, 1960s. I'm taking this in black. Okay, then radicalism, behavioralism, and humanism. It went up to 1990s. Start of environmentalism since 1960s. Functionalist and feminist geography since 1960s also. Okay, 1990s. Okay, environmentalism came into the main picture and currently it is dominating. So this is a paradigm shift. This is a paradigm shift which is explained by the Kuhn and Popper. Okay, so this is an important aspect which we need to understand for the explanation of various paradigm shift or the issues in the perspectives of the geographical studies and how it has taken place in the previous time period. So this is a thought which helps us to understand geography in a better way. Okay. Initially, what we will see before the area differentiation, that I would like to add here one part, that there was a non-paradigmic stage. This non-paradigmic stage started from the ancient period up to the classical period start, or we can say here that was the Renaissance period. Okay, so from the ancient to the classical period, this was the non-paradigmic stage. Okay, now the presence of possibilism and determinism, this was a dual paradigmic stage. Okay, the presence of radicalism, behaviorism, and humanist, this is a multi-paradigmic stage. And presence of areal differentiation or quantitative revolution, this is a monoparadigmic stage. Okay, so this thing also is quite important for us to understand that how it is non-paradigmic, monoparadigmic, dual paradigmic, multi-paradigmic stage. Okay, so this helps to understand, to assess that what was the thought or what were the dominant factors during those time periods which have shaped the development of geography as a discipline during those time period here. Okay, so guys, this was an lecture. We will see that important part for us to understand how things worked here. Now, in the next lecture, we'll be understanding the areal differentiation and regional synthesis. Okay, we'll be studying them in quite detail, that how this is done. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can ask right now. Okay, you can also ask your questions in the Telegram group. We will be starting Telegram activities from today. Trying to discuss the questions. For the Telegram link, you can go to the YouTube description page. There we have certain links. Through those links, you can come to the uh, s- you can come to the Telegram group or the WhatsApp group also. From there, I can direct you to the specific area where we want to actually go. Okay. Any doubts, any queries, anything you want here, you can ask me right now. I have shown you how to access to the PDF which I am reading here right now. Okay, you can have the access to the same PDF. How you can do it there, you can get it that point. Okay, if you have any doubt, queries, you can ask, please. Any doubts and queries by you guys? If no, then we can conclude this lecture today and we will be continuing tomorrow, where with the same part we can have the we'll be continuing the areal differentiation, regional synthesis, how they have been developed, Okay, what are the various theorists who are behind them, and the PDF will also be shared with you. Okay, so guys, see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye.